Saying good morning to our listeners and viewers. Welcome to another edition of To The Point. Today being Monday, the 15th day of January, within the year 2024. Good morning. Viewers via GBN TV, wherever you're viewing GBN TV, which one of the channels you've chosen to view us via, good morning to you and welcome. Let's say good morning to our social media platforms. Yes, whether it's the Facebook page, YouTube channels, good morning, and welcome. Let me say good morning to Mr. Sylvan McIntyre. Good morning to you, sir, and welcome.
Good morning, GT, and thank you for your welcome this morning again.
All right. It seems like we're touching the midway mark of January already, huh?
Yes.
Just like the year started just the day I was saying Happy New Year.
Right. And Happy New Year is becoming maybe almost a stale thing.
Yeah.
So soon we'll be going into Happy 50th Anniversary Grenada.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really
and time is approaching rather quickly.
Yeah.
For our 50th anniversary, 50 years as an independent nation. Last week I had a couple of folks coming in and talk. They came in, we spoke a lot. There's some interesting events coming up.
Yes. There's quite a bit that's happening on the burner for 50 years. So there's a little bit I want to chime in on that with part of my observation in terms of how Grenada is really embracing 50 years and how we mature as a nation, and whether Grenada will qualify for pension.
Grenada. Yeah. That's it. We got to reach 65, right?
That's correct. So let me take
That's interesting. Yes. I never thought about that.
So I thought about this. So we're going to see whether Grenada will be getting pension age 61, 62, 63, or 65.
Who'll be paying the pension, by the way?
Well,
that's another conversation.
Yeah. So let me say good morning again to everyone who's been following, listening, and have been expressing your satisfaction with our programs so far. Pleasant morning to you, Tanti, for your words of well wishes and so forth. And for all those of you who've been lending your support in one way or the other, we say, on behalf of the GBN, I want to just, express our gratitude. Those of you who've been making calls and giving me, tips in terms of the issues that we should really speak about, I want to let you know that we really appreciate it, and we do this for you every Monday.
Yes.
As long as God has given us the strength and the ability to do it, we are going to be serving Grenada, ensuring that we create a safer, better environment for every one of us. We're not just, even if tourism is everybody's business, but Grenada is about us as well.
Yes.
And as we move into 50 years, we want to see the risk levels reduced drastically, and we want to see every Grenadian feeling safer to be on our roads, to drive, to commute, to walk in any way, one way or the other, to hike our trails, to bike our trails, to do whatever you choose to do. We want to ensure that all of the safety issues are captured. And this is why we're here. We're championing the cause for safety and risk reduction in Grenada.
All right, great. It's a great introduction there. We following suit on this morning's program. Let's get into our regular talk. What's been happening this week?
Oh yeah. For the past week.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting. Every time that we need to do a review, we follow up on some of the things we did in the past, but there are some common things that reoccur, like the traffic accidents and so on.
Yes.
Over the weekend, we saw that serious accident. I am yet to get a report on one of the persons, the occupants.
Yes.
Hopefully she's back.
Okay.
I'm not aware of what is the latest condition, but actually there was at least two persons in the vehicle, and one was seriously trapped.
Okay.
As we spoke off air, it's an indicator that people are still speeding. People are still using their gadgets and are careless on the road. And so it's the appeal for everyone that speeding really don't help. If you leave late, you can't arrive late or early. That's a fact. And speeding and racing with each other is probably an unacceptable thing. And as we speak into our programs, we realize that there's still a need for us to be doing more monitoring of activities and enforcing of the law in a more stringent manner.
Yeah.
We hope there's a best result that nobody is seriously injured and nobody is fatally injured or wounded.
And I'm seeing violence is also seem to be dominating a wee bit this week. I saw the particular bus driver and of course passengers getting into altercations. Things we don't want to see happening in Grenada.
Absolutely.
Things we don't find out that we don't want to see happening. So there's
a lot for us.
There's a lot.
In terms of social intervention, in terms of quelling some things that may happen, how we do resolve issues, and that's a big matter. As we speak about resolving issues, and sometimes where some of them can end in fatalities, and how our emotional psyche could be, tranquilized a bit. I heard on one of your programs, we did speak about it earlier on, as just glossed over it, that the need for looking for other places for burial of persons.
Yes,
that is something we touched on really quickly earlier on in the, I think it was last year, saying that there's a need for
just something brief on that.
Really brief on that.
Yeah.
And I think as the Undertaker spoke about it, I mean, he highlighted that aspect of it. And people need to understand just as well that your loved ones depart. They do have a lot in terms of how you reintegrate into society and how they are being put away and where they are put away. That is also critically important. It helps your emotional well-being, it helps your psychological, your social and everything else, if you can be assured that your loved ones are placed in a comfortable resting place. And there's an opportunity for people to go back and make peace with themselves, and there is a footpath that you can follow, there's a driving place that you can pack up, and there's an ambience and environment where you can sit and reflect on the pleasant moments. So we think in particular I advocated for the south of the island that we should look for alternative place, and I don't think the Mount Hartman area is best utilized. It's the Dove Sanctuary, but I think there's quite a lot of land space there. And our state mechanism should now look at how we can create a larger space where we can put our loved ones to rest, and where the survivors can drive through. Even our state officials, there should be somewhere where they can be put to rest in peace. Some of our prominent citizens, there should be places demarcated for that. So you can drive through. It forms part of even our tourism. I've seen it in South America and some places where these people who've died for many, many years, you can go and read off the history and all of that. And so we do have, a wealth of history. We do have our Heroes Park coming up. But I also think that we need to look at creating alternative spaces where loved ones could be put and where survivors can drive through and themselves find additional peace.
So some serious rethinking needs to be done. And there are options also. There's cremation and all of these things.
Yes,
which is another option that folks could think about.
In addition to that, though,
that space.
Without cutting you though, the ancient way of probably putting people away in terms of the plantocracy era in the 18th, 19th century, when the plantocrats came to our Caribbean islands and colonized and took our plantations. What they brought with them, they decided to have kept a little church closer to where they live. The mahogany trees and palm trees are prominent features of that. And then a small cemetery close to churches were erected. And then in most cases, the settlers came and they settled on the easier parts for them, close to the shorelines and close to the water sources. And they did bury people in those places, also close to the shorelines and close to some of our water. And that in itself, because of everything that exists at the moment, it is also creating an environmental negative impact. And you may have heard the people speak about you have to consult with agriculture and land use if you got to use it, and Ministry of Health, because when you bury people, all of what the burying material and all these things contain, they can have negative impact on the soil, water sources, and the environment generally. So the places where people were buried before, especially on the sea coast, in Carriacou in particular, some of that land is reclaimed by the sea. And you look in some places, I think in Tebow and them places, there are some tombs that are actually in the water, and there are some of them who have already been washed away. And so that in itself could have an impact on our ecosystem, the marine life, and our general environment. So there's a strong need for that aspect to rethink. The risk of our healthy life or healthier living condition is also threatened by the way we take care of the departed ones. For our own physical, our emotional and mental well-being. That is something that needs serious consideration.
So true. Back then, a lot of thought maybe not been put into it.
Yes.
The whole topography was different than to those times. You understand?
Correct.
Back then it was different. So we made up think, we're going to have, soil erosion to that magnitude and so forth. The thought of that may not have come to mind.
Yes.
We just think, hey, it's a perfect place to bury, and then they did that.
Yes.
And now we've seen what that's caused.
And those of us who are more intellectually inclined, more knowledgeable, have the use of technology to our disposal and all that. Land use has to be something that is big. Settlements and all of that has to be a big thing. So following through as well, over the last couple of days, we saw a number of initiatives. And as I said, independence is one of those bigger things, 50 years for Grenada. I attended the launch of the e-bike with Ride Along.
Yes.
And that's something that's going to have something to do with our environment again. And we're happy that it's eco-friendly, environmental friendly, because it's, it's not using gas with those kind of carbon emission, etc. But what I saw at the opening when the national anthem was being sung, it drew my attention, and I was really appalled that some people, there are a huge majority of people really, and I want to commend them for that, understand what the national anthem means to us. Regardless of where the national anthem is being played or sung, we owe it to Grenada to stand at attention in recognition of our country. We are at peace. We love you, Grenada, and we salute you. We recognize you and respect you. But when people seem to be walking around aimlessly, uselessly, and the anthem is being played, it says a lot about how we are cultured and how we do treat and respect our country. When the anthem was being played for the opening during that launch, there are quite a number of people who were on streets. They stopped, stood to attention, and there are others who could not have cared less.
Yeah.
It is saying to us, it is an indicator that we're not doing sufficient to raise that patriotic awareness. We need to be more patriotic, to be honest. And the anthem and the national pledge is one of these things that we want to be reinstituted strongly in schools, at events, and let people become more aware. So for this 50th anniversary of Grenada, I would want to see personally that strong emphasis be given on recognizing and showing some, honor to the national anthem when it is being played. I want the people who are responsible to sing this across the airwaves and through other medium, that when the national anthem is being played and the pledge is being read or otherwise, that people should stand still in recognition of that. It says a lot about your country. It says a lot about how you embrace what you have. It says a lot about how you're cultured and how you're brought up. And this is something, for 50 years, we want to show that level of maturity.
So true. I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and they was, reiterating the same thing you said. We're not hearing much about things that we should follow suit in terms of our nationalism.
Okay.
You understand?
Right.
They're not hearing much, especially on radios and television and
right.
so forth. They were saying they're not hearing much about that.
Right.
Being our 50th anniversary, a lot of things that should be, kind of brought back to us.
Yes.
A wee bit, and we're not hearing that.
The pomp and ceremony is good.
Yes.
Having the festivals and, putting up decorations and all of that, how much does that resonate with us internally? So the person is obviously right. I'm hoping that a stronger focus could be made on. And a way of doing that, if you want to build a future, you have to start with the children.
So true. Because they were actually saying that, as you said, with the children, because they're saying our population is young to a point. There are a lot of young folks who have just not cared less about, national anthem. Some don't even know the words of
yes.
Especially the pledge and the national anthem. They know little about it.
Yes.
Don't know how necessary it is to respect when the national anthem has been played.
Yes.
You go to a lot of ceremonies at times, even national events.
Yes.
The national anthem has been played, and nobody seems to care less about it.
Right.
But they wait for the actual event to start, and could care less what the national anthem means to us as a people. I think we need to actually focus on a whole lot, and I think a lot of more infomercials should be shown in relation to that. Have someone just narrating the importance of it. That will certainly bring some awareness again to that.
And this has nothing to do with the politics.
No.
It has nothing to do with who is your leader, your prime minister, which party is in power. It has to do with our nationalism and the way we embrace the country from which we belong. We're seeing people coming from different places and saying Grenada is such a beautiful place. Yeah. We love it and everything else. And we want to be able to show that. And I think we are nice people, but we are losing some of that natural niceness that we actually.
Why do you think we have got? Why do you think we have got? Where that breakdown has taken place? Where do you think that we have gone? That breakdown has taken place. If I know I'm putting you too much on the spot.
No, you're not. Because I think the recognition of our family values has a lot to do with it. Mm-hmm. And modernization and technology has a lot to do with how we move. And I don't think we positioned ourselves sufficiently and monitored the impact that technology and what modernism is creating. And so we do a lot of remote parenting, we do e-parenting, we do virtual parenting and all that, and forget that we need to be more in touch physically with our families and maintain those values. And it goes back to another fundamental thing we've been speaking about, enforcement in a larger or in a different kind of a way, not just by law enforcement police officers, but by family values, ensuring that what principles are set in the home, in the society, and so forth. Communities that they have been maintained. And we're not finding a lot of leaders who would stand up. If some people are resisted in some things, they back off. So we need people with more strength, more internal fortitude, and those kind of tenacity that would stand up for our national values. Not just some things that people said in the past, but things that mean something to us, how we cherish. I drove through the parish of St. Andrew, St. Patrick, Montreach area, and there are 2 milestones that are set up there. The traditional, there's one that's very traditional, the metal brass type milestone. It's a literal milestone. When people say you do things in life, it's another milestone that you've achieved. There are some literal milestones, and I really want to commend the people. They really cleaned up. One of them painted it so you can see that. It says something about Grenada's foundation or culture. And then you look at the Carib stone, how well that is, knowing where our indigenous people and all of that, and the evidence of that, it's not well maintained. So you look at how we embrace Grenada, or what we say is our patrimony, and how we get in touch and stay linked with it. We're still lacking quite a bit. And we're hoping, as we match you into 50 and looking towards Grenada's retirement, maybe at age 65, that we would embrace more of that.
I still think we have not gotten to the maturity level yet.
So that we can,
even though we are 50, we have not gotten to the maturity level.
So we're not qualifying Grenada for retirement?
No, our pension may have to move to 75.
That's a soft
we do for a break, of course, so let's take that break. We come back. We have so much more to continue when we come back. Stay with us, folks. It's To The Point here, Classic Radio, GBN TV. We'll be right back.
National Lotteries Authority is a proud sponsor of many cultural activities within the tri-island state of Grenada.
My name is Anderson Matterson, also known as Leftist, and I'm a calypsonian and string band music player from Carrico. I support the games of the National Lottery Authority because culture benefits tremendously. Annually, the NLA supports the Carrico Pitamatic Carnival, the Carrico String Band Music Festival, and all regattas, among other activities. When I play the game of the NLA, I can see where my money goes, and it's an investment into our culture.
Yes, Grenada, when you play the games of the NLA, you enable us to invest in the skills and talents of our people in the areas of sports, culture, and nation building.
I want you to control your anger. There's a way to feel better. That's one thing to remember. No matter where you are, you can be a star. Stop and take a deep breath.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. To The Point here, Classic Radio, GBN TV. Welcome back, Sylvan. And To The Point here. We our healthy discussion a while ago. We were having a little bit of a fair conversation, which we want to replicate right now. Probably one of these mornings, we would probably spend some time closer to the actual independence celebration. If we do get a chance one of these mornings, and probably go in depth about that. I think it's a healthy conversation that folks we could probably chime in or listen and viewing audience a little bit more and see get their views on that also.
Yes, and usually on Independence Day, I'm one of the persons who narrate the military parades, and so I think that there sometimes isn't sufficient opportunity to take us back to the history to where it came from and other things. I'm hoping to
get an opportunity this time
50, but I think we should be able to highlight some of the hallmarks from certain areas, which include the military and the police, that led up to 50. Maybe during one of our programs when we're speaking, the people who may not necessarily hear, we probably want to highlight something.
So true. That will be interesting to listen to. So interesting.
The commissioners, the military people, and everything else that came through with those military and the significance of all of that. Sometimes people don't hear enough of it on the 7th itself because there isn't sometimes sufficient opportunity and the information platform when so much things are happening on field.
I certainly have listened to you over the years, your views being one of the commentators about it, and sometimes the time when you start to talk about it, it's almost time to start the parade, so you have to cut off and so forth.
Correct.
So maybe we get that 2 or 3 hours before where that could be implemented, where we have folks who are knowledgeable about our history of independence and so forth speak about it.
I think
there's enough time. It is always an interesting conversation to hear what the build up from there to now.
Yes.
You understand?
I'm hoping that is part of this year's 50th anniversary, that it will be loaded with information from 1974 right up.
I
was a little boy in 74, and I understand. I saw some of the things that happened in 74, and it would also be interesting for me to learn from other people some things that I wasn't aware of that happened.
All right. It's always interesting. I always grab the interest also of listening to folks speak about our history.
You're listening to us as the senior people, right?
Yeah. Let's move on this morning.
Yes.
We talking traffic safety once again this morning. Yes. Last week we had, of course, we showed some videos that was certainly interested.
Right.
Yeah, we showed some videos. We wanna, of course, redo some of that this morning.
Right.
But we also want to touch on other things this morning. An interesting thing that you brought up in terms of the traffic and road safety this morning. Parking on shoulders. We see folks are doing a lot of that. Trucks up. On the Maurice Bishop Highway. Lots of these things are going on. Let's get some info on that.
So I did my analysis to come up with some of these things and took some photos of those things that do impede or restrict, some safety issues on the road. And I don't think there's sufficient respect drawn to our shoulders and people understand what they mean. And coming out of that, I'm hoping as the McIntyre Foundation for Road Safety goes through this campaign, which we are hoping to increase in 2024, that people become more aware of some of the things that could really impact on safety on the roads. So as you travel along the Maurice Bishop Highway and some places across, somebody did bring it to my attention, actually, and there was some adjustment made. There are some trucks parked up along the way, and it creates I think there's a business in that area.
Yeah.
The businessman was approached and he did do some adjustments to getting those vehicles off. But the image as people drive through, even if you're supposed to drive at a particular speed limit, but it creates a psychological disadvantage to you when you see these massive structures on the side of the road, on the shoulder or very close to the shoulder. I think some of the shots we took show a little bit where some of it was infringing on the shoulderway. And the shoulder is for vehicles to pull off.
Yes.
If there's some issue that they need to attend to.
Temporary.
I'm very temporary. I'm happy that you mentioned that. Very temporary, and not to be there for any extended period of time. Yeah. There are things that can happen. People may not intentionally veer off the road, but if you understand what keeps a vehicle on the road, not a lot. You can have steering issue, steering racks, you can have braking issue, you can have tire issue that can veer you off the road. Now the shoulder gives you that opportunity off the main thoroughfare to be able to maneuver and settle off if there is some emergency. If there is something that is resting or very close to that shoulder, it means that one can end up in an accident. Yeah. So as we move along, we're hoping that aspect could be enhanced. People should realize that the shoulder is not a place to pack up, go for drinks or otherwise. Or if you have you live in the area, you have a business in the area, that the shoulder is part of the place you should occupy. We're looking to see people's attitude change towards that. As we drive along the central road that bisects Grenada into Grandy Town, Somebody drew to my attention, I see it a few times, that, as you leave this corner area heading up there, there are some vehicles that are parked there. I think there's a garage.
I think there's a garage right there.
And some of these vehicles are allowed to be there for extended period of time.
For months at a time. I noticed that.
So you notice that, right?
Months at a time.
Great.
And it's becoming a major obstruction for the traffic at most times.
And not just the obstruction, but the obstruction over a period of time leads to, as I mentioned, anger and all these things and road rage. But it's not but when it happens. Some vehicles coming over that from the Grand Tang area, people may be driving a particular, they may also have difficulty in your brakes holding as it should, and may slam into something and it could end in fatality. So while these little things are there and no major accidents are occurring, but the slowing of the movements, the generating of anger and that kind of a feeling in people, we could avoid that by ensuring that these things are policed and they're enforced. And somebody also mentioned, but police officers pass and they see these, they should see these things all the time.
I was going to ask you that also. I mean,
what are they doing about it?
Who should be blamed about that in particular for the extended period that these things are parked there? Is it the police? Is it the Ministry of Works? So who actually should be blamed?
There are a couple of people who are not necessarily should be blamed, but responsible.
Well, you have to throw a blame on them for having it there for the extended period of time.
But yes, maybe you can give them a blame. But we said it before that law enforcement is not just about our cities.
Yeah.
Grenada is a small place, and all of Grenada is almost part of some of the bigger cities around the world. So, by extension, policing and enforcement of laws should be countrywide. The putting of clamps and enforcing of traffic measures should be just about in any community where people park indiscriminately or without consideration for others. They should be ticketed or clamped. When you understand that,
but I have noticed in the Lois Lane area, they've been clamping vehicles now that close to that business establishment where the parts and soul are sold. I've noticed clamping has started taking place, but it still hasn't reduced folks parking and distracting the traffic.
So the problem in that is that
it was done one day and the next day it continued. Do you understand?
We have to be consistent.
Yeah,
we have to be consistent. And I mentioned before that our police force was depleted by large sense through attrition and resignations and retirement, etc. There's a move and there's a hybrid policing initiative right now to have more police officers on the streets and wardens. That is a commendable initiative because we need to see enforcements and we need to see enforcers more on our streets and more in our community, and we need them to be more assertive. And they have to be consistent. So you can't do it now, and then the next few months is when you're going to clamp another vehicle for a violation.
Yeah.
You have to be consistent so that people would obey and respect the law. So as we travel, even as you go further into the Grand Tang, just on the Upper Birch Grove area as well, there's some vehicles that I think there's another garage. And I mentioned it, somebody spoke to me on it, and they said, but there's a police station in that area not too far as well.
So true.
So do the police really see that vehicles stop around that corner as vehicles come over the Grand Tang? There's a bend. Yeah. And vehicles come from there and vehicles coming from Grenville direction. And oftentimes there are near misses. And so we're saying that it should not be a one time. And that is rural areas.
Yes.
But policing is not about, and law is not about city areas only. It is about countrywide. And so violators, anyway, should be made to feel the brunt of the law. And unless we get to that point where people realize that enforcement is happening more stringently, that I am not taking that chance, because if I'm caught, the penalty will be so stiff. The officers will be less tolerant or zero tolerant in me behaving that kind of way. We are going to see a definite paradigm shift, attitude shift in how we create the safety and safer environment for road users.
Sylvan, we could talk about this from now till the next 50 years. But if we don't see the enforcement part of it taking place, because we've been talking about a lot of the things that we are actually seeing taking place right now. We've been talking them from the start of the show.
Right.
You understand? And we have seen some improvement in some areas.
Right.
But the majority of it still needs a lot to be desired in terms of the enforcement part of it.
Good. So as Master Control showed the footage last week,
yes,
some of them, we hope that they could be replayed this morning to remind people of some of the things that we're speaking about. They are real. We spoke about the vehicles parking on the shoulders. We highlighted that. And as we went on, we also said that we must move with time.
Yeah.
Poles in the road. There's a caption of the poles in Grande Town Park.
Yeah.
I'm sure you saw that.
Yep.
Almost in the middle of the national park. Have we not seen that it's time for us to shift it to somewhere else?
That's been there for a long time.
A long time.
I don't want to say years, but it's been there a long time.
A very long time.
I know that area's been used as a car park and
tourism,
attraction,
and all of that. We should find because people bang into these things, and there are no real reflectors on them. So if they're going to be there until they are removed, there should be reflectors for night and other reflective things so that can draw people's attention even during the course of the day. We've seen that in Grande Town. And then you have poles that have become roundabouts. Tempe Junction by the Coke factory is one such place. There are a few tires around some poles in the middle of the road. But is that an official roundabout? That does impact on road safety, and I can tell you why. Because I was driving there last week. Some visitors came from the Deco Center. You know, the Deco service station, that area. And I was going to that end. I was going to go around that pole. And as they came through, they drove straight down my way. And obviously they did not understand that you need to go around to head up to Maras Hill.
So that's where a lack of signs is also...
Signs is also lacking. And whether or not, if it's going to be a roundabout, why not create...
something official
and designate it a roundabout and put the signs that said, give way to traffic on your right.
Yeah.
It should be. There's the other one in the Woodlands Junction. They put some big tires up there as well, but is it gazetted as an official?
There's also the one in the roundabout into the Lansabine area also that leads into the
roundabout. That area close to the Ram supermarket.
Yeah,
they're up there again. Poles and tires. Well, this one tires. Are they gazetted roundabouts? If they are, why do we not put signs up on them saying roundabout approaching? Give way to traffic on your right, so that there are a lot of road users who don't even know Grenada very well. They don't even know how to drive on our streets properly for less visitors.
So the question is, were they meant to be there temporary by putting the tires?
How long is temporary?
Well, I'm asking you to answer the question now because it's been there a while. I guess you put the tire because you think it's for a temporary reason or for time, I should say,
right.
For putting the tire. So it will say, well, maybe after it's been there for a month or two, we're going to build a permanent structure. But it's been there. Even the one in the Woodlands roundabout, I was told it was going to be. I remember when it was
it
was a trial,
right?
And you understand, and that's been going on more than 2 to 3 years now.
In where?
The Woodlands.
COVID was over 3 years, and it was there long before COVID.
Yeah.
So 5, 6, 7 years maybe. Think about it. Right. And as you move up further on into the cliff area, there was one time we spoke about it, and then someone mentioned the major and the minor road, which was cool. But shouldn't we look into that as to whether or not we should also put up maybe a smaller roundabout, try it out, or otherwise, or put light or something there? Because it is difficult to understand who has the right of way.
Who has the right of way? Because you could be coming from the Springs direction, and you're not sure who you should give a rate to. Should you go straight if you wanted to go to the Woburn? Well, there are some markings on the road.
Yes.
But it doesn't say anything.
It does not say anything. And I have seen people come from the Springs area and just drove really quickly past you, heading up to the Woburn area. And there are other people who just come across and they decide to swing really rapid.
Everybody think, well, I have the right of way to go ahead.
So, right, while some of us understand that we need to give way to traffic on our right. So technically, if we're coming from the Calavini area and somebody's coming up, maybe we should give them the right of way to go up, but is that a major or minor road?
So true.
So there should be some traffic signs or signal that should indicate that. Now, as you spoke about temporary setting up of things around, that also could impact on road safety. There are some bridges. We mentioned it before. One in the Belvedere area, one in the Paradise area, and there was one in the Monlong area and so forth. These were emergency bridges that were brought in here many years ago, and the SSU and other people were the persons who were trained to set these bridges up.
Okay.
They were entrusted with the National Disaster Management Agency, and they were called emergency bridges. And they had to be used in an emergency where a road is become impassable for a period of time, but you need to have traffic moving through. These bridges, you take them out, set them up, and traffic are able to go through. And as soon as practicably thereafter, a permanent structure should be set up to become a bridge. I have seen these bridges set up for over 19, 20 years. Some of them have been set up there. Ivan is going to be 20 years, I think, this year. Some of them have been put up there soon after Hurricane Ivan. They are still up as temporary. I remember one time one of these temporary bridges went down, and there was someone in the same St. Andrews area that got injured. It is time that we look into those temporary measures that have become permanent and have created safety hazards to our motoring and pedestrian public. We need to be able to do better than that. And there are some of our bridges. If you inspect some of them, there are huge cracks on it, so the integrity is impacted by a large means. The rebars or the steel that in place, they are exposed. They've made their time.
But shouldn't there be an individual who responsible for inspecting these things on a regular basis?
Absolutely. That is, I am concerned that those safety measures are not sufficiently enforced, or they are looked into. If they are looked into, we must be given a report. Our nation must be informed that, look, we've conducted X, Y, and Z. I have seen in some places they may have restricted the use of certain size of vehicles and tonnage of some vehicles, but I know there are some bridges, they have made their time in many places, and very, very heavy vehicles
and they are due for maybe to demolish or refurbish to a
yes. point. And finally, in our observation segment, we spoke about the use of guardrails.
Yeah.
Trust me, we do not want an accident to occur. Over the Grande Tang, they've done a tremendous work in clearing up some of the overhang and doing some of the... But as they do, more of the risks are being exposed. People are seeing more. Trust me, and now that the mist is being heavier.
Yeah. You know, some of those corners, there are those huge boulders who are on those corners. Sometimes you never know. Not everybody could be a good driver.
Great.
You understand? You've seen those boulders that are exposed to a point.
That's
Should
right.
something be done to remove them? They've been there for a lot of time.
Yep.
And I think there are individuals in the various ministries who are responsible for those areas.
Right.
And you've seen the danger that is looming to happen in some time or the other. And nothing has been done about it.
So our appeal, one more time, is for more effective guardrails in the Grande Tang area in particular as you drive up to the Black Forest and you go through. I was coming down yesterday evening into the, I think was it, or the day before. And as I looked, as the mist started clearing up, I realized you're driving up on the left side, you hit that a few corners coming up after the Black Forest area as you enter. You enter a good way about a quarter mile up on the left. There are a few places there for sure, and as you go through, as they're opening up, you can and clearing up some areas. Heading down into the Hitmeezy area, we spoke about that before too. There's definitely some need for some guardrails, and I'm sure if we go across country.
I always thought if the authorities could put into in some way or consider cutting some of those corners wider. I'm not sure if it could happen.
They could.
You understand?
They could.
I mean, it's a forest reserve and everything like that. We understand, but some of those corners without that is so tight, and we see just the idle lands and it's just bush. If it could be cut and widened a wee bit, when I always wondered about that from time to time if that could occur. If any consideration could be ever given to that.
Well, that should be given some. I know there are some corners. When our roads were designed before, we didn't have the volume of vehicles and the size of vehicles on our roads. But now I am suggesting that more inspections should be undertaken, and we should see more of these corners being widened, or choose alternative ways of connecting those corners, making it wider, putting small bridges, etc. on them. And the other area that we also spoke about on our program very early was the aspect of how we do our slopes. We are removing some of the trees and so forth, and it's going to expose the soil, and we're going to have land slippage. But as we decide to grade them, the excavation takes place all the way down without any angle on them, and we did speak about terracing or doing what is like these massive step-like structure. When the bottom is wider, you go smaller to the top. So if you have things moving, the soil, it would not come right down, it will hold, and it will have less cut and smaller drops from those slippage. And the boulders, if you have rock falls, they're not going to come down rapid, or if they do slip, they are going to hold on some of them before getting to the bottom.
Right.
So I have observed quite a bit of this kind of excavation. It seems as though some people who wants to get a job done really quickly, who are not well supervised and given contract that are not effectively followed through.
You wonder if some kind of survey has been done before the actual project takes place.
Before and during. Because a lot of these people
are there qualified engineers who are looking at the project while it's taking place also? That's another concern.
Yes.
So when we do for a break, let's take it. I'm seeing we're getting lots of calls coming in that we haven't been taking. Then we come to the next segment, we're going to entertain a few callers. So callers, after the break, we will entertain your calls. Stay with us, folks. It's To The Point here, Classic Radio, GBN TV. We'll be right back after the break.
This is 50 years of Calypso excellence as Made in Grenada presents
Mention the wing carry, then you have things like man, you must come back, We have the low power there.
It is kind of like the same man, and it's just different name for the same kind of thing.
And last but not least, I just want to say to all the men who saw me, call me, and ask for a piece of cake, I'm baking this weekend.
Join us Fridays at 8 on GBN Television, K105 FM, GBN's Facebook page, and YouTube channel for We Culture.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. It's To The Point for today, Monday. And with me this morning, Mr. Sylvan McIntyre. And as usual, we're talking safety as always, road safety and safety in general. We're talking about that this morning. Let's entertain a couple of your calls. 435-2041. You do probably have a question or two in relation to the conversation we're having this morning. Feel free to speak about that. Let's go to the phone line, take our first caller. Caller,
good morning, gentlemen. Morning. Greetings. Independence celebration anniversary, 50th anniversary, greetings. Now, we have a nation very small, with no laws. Laws might be there, but no implementation. Lawlessness, Malibé, I can't think of anything. We have people that cannot deal with boss, man. You put laws in place, they don't obey laws. And you do things against that. Now, we have to build from zero go back up. From 0% go back up. We live in a country, we just know we live in a nation, we just know we there, Vicky. We have to build Grenada to go forward. That's from zero in everything. If you go on Grenada right now, and they give Grenada $10,000, and as if you have Grenada constitution, they have not known, a Grenada constitution, you give them $10,000 if you have a constitution, they have not known. They never see that. So we have to put in place and let's get together as people and build Grenada to go forward. Even all the roads and things up in Grenada, as you mentioned a while ago, that road building is slavery time. That road should be enough tractors in Grenada, engine things to imagine all the corners and build wall and make the place wide up in the inside land, inside the region area, all on the sea coast and all, need land, widen land inside the road inside the land, and you forget the sea coast. But we ain't doing that. We just patching and building wall for years ago, and we just the same way over and over. But now it's time we plan to go Grenada to go forward. I mean, go no way. Year come the same thing.
All right, caller. Thank you so much.
It's time we plan Grenada to go somewhere, man. It's time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your contribution this morning. And the caller is right about that. We need to rethink our way of how we do things to a point in order to get that improvement that we want.
So we show that we progress in a lot of areas and we regress in certain areas. And what he's saying is right. We have to look at alternative ways of really making access inland and sometimes you speak about inland, but sometimes we need to even go towards the sea coast. And put bypass and all of that. Grandmother's slippage area was one such place that people thought that we could have left the inland and maybe do a nice bridge towards
that carry us along the shore
and hook it back onto the land. So it's a lot of
interesting. That could have been interesting.
And as a matter of fact, it may have added to the ambience of the area where people can. It's a nice look off. You can drive across a bridge, put a nice rail, and people can just look off down by sea and kind of a thing.
So true. Probably could have cost even less. You never know.
And they use more gravels on the inside because that's the gravels area.
Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Good morning, GT and Mr. McIntyre. Good morning to you, sir. I want to wish you all the best for the new year. I just want to look at some key points that you point out, especially in Granitown Road area. But first, I need that what we need to look at. If we have a Ministry of Transport or the Transport Board, many times I usually hear the Transport Board only focusing on buses and things of that sort. What I think we need to do in Grenada, the Transport Board and the Licensing Authority with the Ministry of Works and the various engineers need to work together. So if someone were to bring in a vehicle, especially those huge trucks, the Ministry of Infrastructure or Road supposed to have information to the Licensing Authority that the Licensing Authority can look at the tonnage of the truck. They know all the bridges, the weight that these bridges can carry to know whether if the strength of the bridge is relevant to handle that vehicle with the amount of tonnage. For instance, Paradise Bridge, I look at some marking on it. Over 200 years it has been constructed, and I know it's white lime or the limestone they construct it with, but this is a main road. And look at the large trucks we have passing on it. Does the Ministry of Works have information, thorough inspection to say, well, look, we have these heavy vehicles, we don't have the bridges to accommodate the weight. So then now we look at repairing, upgrading. You telling me that those engineers in 1940-something and 1930-something, when they didn't even know whether you have this huge transport, but they built bridge to handle such capacity up to today, you are telling me that they are much wiser than us today with all this technology. And the bridge immediately after the Great House from Granitown going to St. Andrews, there are two bridges. They need to expand. And if this bridge collide, Granitown is a main road to get to the city in St. George's. What are we doing years upon years? And these two bridges remain the same. One by Seven Falls Gap, one immediately after the Great House in Granitown. I think we have technology, we could store information, and we have engineers in the Ministry of Works, we have a licensing authority and transport board. They need to work together if we want to fix the road problem with bridges in Grenada. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you, caller, so much. And the caller has something, of course.
That caller is on point.
Yes. Great observations also.
Great observation. I mean, he mentioned something that I even didn't mention, but I saw them too, which is really, really good. Those bridges, the one by Seven Sisters and the one, and they are really good, massive connections.
Yes.
If they go down to there tomorrow, you know what's happening.
It's a major cut-off there. You remember there was an issue once in the Granatang area that put off the passage to Granatang for a very long time.
For a while, yes.
When they were doing that construction, that slope that takes you before Birch Grove there.
And the side of those bridges too, and even railings. I saw a vehicle just off the Seven Sister Bridge.
Yeah.
Went down in that more than one time actually, because the side there, they're not very stable and there are no rails there just as well.
All right.
So the bridge in that area should be expanded and the road could be widened in that area to accommodate the volume.
All right. Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Hello, good morning. And to you and your guests, I have wanted to raise something that I raised before, and that is the overhangings. Even if just before, if you're going down the lane before the botanical garden, around about there, the trees on both sides are touching. We have a lot of that all over the place. I'm asking if Flo, Glen, Digicel, Ministry of Works, and NAGMA can put heads together. Let's clear overhangings. You don't have to be painting all over the place, but I think we can cut overhangings, right? That would make a big difference. There's some that are dark in the night, and not because of lights, but there are a lot of overhangings. There are bamboos in certain places in Grenada. They're hanging from one side of the street to the other side of the street. And there's another thing I want to raise. The trucks that start dropping cement at the side of the roads again. Monkuma wasn't built long, that road. And there's some parts of the road you really probably can't use already because the cement are dropping at the side of the road. So the traffic had keep on going more and more into the middle of the road. Those are things, if we do with them immediately, it will be better for all of us. God bless and happy independence, gentlemen.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much for your contribution this morning.
We have some really good contributions this morning, to be honest.
They are like called healthy.
They're loaded with information and observations, and sometimes we wonder if the relevant authority listening to what we're saying, but I think sometimes they are, but not really saying, because I've seen some actions are being taken quietly. As a matter of fact, something we mentioned last week on our program and what we did, I think it's one of the parliamentary secretary, Mr. Britton, Prince Britton from Victoria, yes. He did speak to me last Saturday about some initiative that he would like me to help contribute towards undertaking and he got the information from all of the programs.
All right, great.
So maybe they are listening and sometimes they're doing things, but we need to get the feedback.
Let's get the feedback
to reassure the public
that things have been done.
That things have been done, things are happening. Sometimes they're doing stuff that we're not aware of. But as we raise them, we hope that they can realize, well, it's not ordained sufficiently. People need to know.
All right.
People need to see as well.
We have a question from someone via the Facebook. They're saying, Mr. McIntyre, I know you talk a lot about the road safety, which is great. Do you think that as the beautification, the beautifying the place for the 50th anniversary will be a great opportunity to put the necessary signs and speed limits on the roads, and also most of our roads is on the sea coast. What idea do you have for the roads to be wider for to accommodate more vehicular traffic on our roads? Something of that question.
Actually, that the question is loaded with answers technically. Yeah. In terms of the person's saying
it should be done in the same as it be done at the same time. So
absolutely.
So the question being asked and answered at the same
time. Yeah, because it's like a suggestion technically, because to me, putting up the safety signs and the markings, they are more important even than just the paintings.
Just the paintings.
They last longer and they mean a lot more.
So true. Let's entertain another caller. I think we lost that caller. 435-2041. 435-2041. Mr. McIntyre, not much time left on the program, but let's take another caller before we wrap this morning. Caller, you're welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Morning to you and morning to Mr. McIntyre. Yeah, well, my contribution is same coming to the Granatang area there. These roads are so easy to widen right now because of the kind of excavators and so forth. And we don't want to pitch or do anything right away. You cut the corners and then you gravel it. And for instance, there's not much trucking could have to be done. The excavator can stay on that one side, dig and dump. You could see some of the lower areas because of the deterioration need to be dumped. So they can just do that, and you do this work on a weekend so you don't have to obstruct too much of the traffic. I will give you one sense. In 1984 to 85, I was working with a company. We brought in 2 Komatsu in Granitang to widen the corners. And the engineers in Grenada said that that's going to cost the country too much money. That is what was one of the ideas. It's going to cost the company too. But at that time, the company that was working here, they didn't come to do about costing government. It was with the American government concerning the invasion. So they're doing works in Grenada. Instead of encouraging it, they say it's going to cost too much money. Everything in Grenada, it can't happen, or it's going to cost too much. But all things are possible. Look, I was just given an idea. I said, look, for instance, that concrete strip, we can ride near the strip and build a jetty straight out to accommodate a boat at the side of the Osprey. Put the jetty there. That is a link from Sotes, come right on the west coast to the south of the island to the airport and things. All these things are possible. People just say, no, that can't happen, this can't happen. But all things are possible. We need to do stuff. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, caller. Thank you so much, and always have a great idea.
He's a great contributor to the program, and GTV, our 1 hour seems to be pretty packed, but we just want to conclude. I just want to thank the callers, those people who've contributed, and finally, I just want to say in terms of the road safety issue, you're going to take the last one, or
we can probably accommodate our final one, just the final one. And caller, good morning, and be short, please. We're almost time to wrap. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Yes, I want to make a complaint about the topic what they're going on with on the streets.
Caller, go ahead, please. Go ahead, please, caller.
Yeah. Yes. I find that the government could use I-beams. They could use I-beams to widen the road. Build a stone wall. There's a lot of stone in Grenada right here. Widen the road about 8 feet, and you could build stone walls.
All right, caller, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your contribution this morning. Mr. McIntyre, closing comment.
Yeah, well, I was just thanking people for the very, very useful contributions today. And in terms of road safety, we want to advise people, again, to be safe on our roads, obey the speed limits, ensure that you check your vehicle, and ensure that your capacity to maneuver, that the substances that you intake, that they do not contribute to accidents. So one of the things that we want to see as we advocate for further safety is to be able to see sidewalks along our roads, not just in our city areas, and hopefully we can move into also creating bicycle lanes. We've just had an initiative where people are going to be using e-bikes, so there'll be more usage of bikes and bicycles on our roads. We are going to advocate that we should start creating our sidewalks and also creating bicycle lanes as we go through. Be safe, Grenada.
All right. Mr. McIntyre, once again, thank you so much for being on the program this morning. Always interesting program when we're here. And join us again next week once the Almighty permits, health, strength, and everything else in between, that we could be here to do another program for you. Bless. Until then, folks, join us again for another edition of To The Point tomorrow. It's Opposition Tuesday here on To The Point for tomorrow. Join us again. Until then, folks, have a good one. That's what we say goodbye.